Hello, I hope all of you are well. We are here in the United States, are just coming out of our Labor Day weekend. That means we had Monday off, and I had a wonderful Monday. I hope you did as well. I cleaned the pool, I mopped floors. Christine and I worked on preparing something so that our chickens could have a little more free range to roam about. And I also got to do a lot of reading, which I was really excited about. I was thanking the Lord for the blessings of the neighborhood we live in, because my kids literally played outside almost the entire day with neighbors. Over a dozen kids live in our neighborhood that are all about the same age as our kids. It's so wonderful. And I got to meet Pastor Larone, one of my colleagues' new little baby boy, for the first time. So I had a blessed weekend and a blessed Labor Day weekend, and I pray that you did as well. I want to talk to you a little bit about, or follow up on, our sermon from last week. One of the things I said in that sermon was that small groups were not just for the benefit of the church, but they were actually for the benefit of us individually, personally. Specifically, I mentioned one of the first points was that they help protect us spiritually, and I wanted to follow up on that idea. Two gentlemen that I respect greatly from history, George Whitefield and John Wesley, lived in the 1700s. So we're going back in history again to see the value of small groups. But George Whitefield and John Wesley were probably two of the most influential Christian leaders in the 1700s, but probably even in history. Of course, out of John Wesley came the Methodist Church. Many Seventh-day Adventist founders and the early pioneers of Adventism had their roots in Methodism, and so we're grateful for John Wesley's ministry. George Whitefield, though, was considered one of the greatest preachers ever. Benjamin Franklin said that George Whitefield could preach to more than 30,000 people without amplification. I mean, he was known as just an amazing preacher. Now, there's something that I read recently that I wanted to share with you, and I'm going to read that to you. John Wesley said about his ministry this: "I was more convinced than ever that the preaching like an apostle, without joining together those that are awakened and training them up in the ways of God, is only begetting children for the murderer. How much preaching has there been these 20 years all over Pembrokeshire, but no regular societies, no discipline, no order, no connection. And the consequence is that 9 in 10 of the once awakened are now faster asleep than ever." What was John Wesley talking about there? He talked about no societies, no connections. John Wesley, the way he established his ministry, because he was a part of the Church of England, and if you read John Wesley's history, he actually wasn't trying to start a new movement. Methodism really formed after John Wesley died. The actual church of the Methodist Church actually formed after John Wesley died. But John Wesley was just trying to help bring the people that were part of Church of England and gather them together and help them to grow in Christ. And so he developed these things that he referred to there as societies. He referred to them also as classes or groups. And they were these groups of people that came together to support one another, to pray for one another, to be accountable to one another. And he said in that quote that I just read that just preaching to people, if they're not connected to one of these societies, is only begetting children for the murderer. He said the consequence, if they're not connected, is that 9 in 10 of the once awakened are now faster asleep than ever. I mean, that's a pretty strong statement. This last week, I said that one of the benefits of small groups is it spiritually protects us, that it helps us to deal with our sin and overcome our sin. And John Wesley here is saying the same thing. But it wasn't only John Wesley that felt this way. It was actually George Whitefield as well. You see, John Wesley didn't preach to as many people. He didn't have as many converts as George Whitefield. He didn't preach to as many people as George Whitefield. But the impact of John Wesley's ministry in many ways lasted far beyond that of George Whitefield's. And George Whitefield understood this. Listen to this. At the end of George Whitefield's life, this is something he wrote. My brother Wesley acted wisely. The souls that were awakened under his ministry, he joined in classes and thus preserved the fruits of his labor. This I neglected, and my people are a rope of sand. My people are a rope of sand. George Whitefield saw that at the end of his ministry, that while he had preached to thousands upon thousands upon thousands, he had preached in the open air to so many people. As I mentioned earlier, Benjamin Franklin talked about how many people he could preach to. Benjamin Franklin used to come just to sit and listen to him talk. Even though Benjamin Franklin never made a personal decision, he was so in awe of the gift that George Whitefield had. But at the end of George Whitefield's life, he said, what Wesley did was wise, more wise than what I did, because Wesley connected his people to a class or a small group of people. And thus they were strengthened, their fruits could grow. And he said, but I didn't do that. And my followers are like ropes of sand. Well, what do we know about ropes of sand? They have no stability. They have no sturdiness. They have no lasting strength. Folks, one of the reasons why small groups are so important is because we don't want to be like ropes of sand. We need each other. We need to be accountable to others to be stronger in our relationship with Jesus Christ. And so we've been talking about small groups over and over and over again, and you're like, man, let's move on. But folks, we want every single person to be a part of a small group. And we believe that those that are getting connected, and by the way, there are several getting connected. I was so excited to hear that this coming Sabbath, there's a group of 7 high school girls that are going to be having their first small group meeting. I was so excited to hear about that. And I encourage anybody else that's thinking about starting one, gather a few friends together and start a small group and let us know about it. Go to spencervillechurch.org/small groups and let us know. Or if you need a small group, reach out to us at the same thing, spencervillechurch.org/small groups, and let us know, and we will help connect you to some others who are looking for a small group as well. But it's so important because like those 7 high school girls, they're going to be stronger Christians because of this connection together. George Whitefield and John Wesley, they've had more impact on this world than I've ever had. So don't just listen to me, listen to them. Wesley said that to just preach to people, to just go to church, but not be connected to a society, as he called them, or what were his small groups, is like just giving someone over to the murderer. 9 out of 10, he said, are no better off. In fact, they're worse off than they were before. And what did Whitefield say? He said Wesley has acted wisely because he connected his followers to classes, whereas all my people are like ropes of sand, no strength, no power. So brothers and sisters, let's be Christians that have strength and power, and one of the best ways to do that is to connect to smaller groups of believers, to be accountable to them, to be supported by them, and to be encouraged by them. I love you. I pray that you have a great week, and this Sabbath is actually going to be the last sermon in our small group series, and so I encourage you to watch. We're actually going to talk about it from a different perspective than we've talked about it before, but you'll see the connection as we work our way through it. And then next Sabbath, so this Sabbath we're doing that, and then next Sabbath we're starting a new sermon series on the 7 churches of the book of Revelation. And so that I hope that you'll join us for both of those and that you'll tell your friends about it. Love you. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.